we've been reporting, heavy metal icon and music legend Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. This comes just weeks after the farewell show for Black Sabbath. His family said in a statement that it is with more sadness than words can convey that we have to report our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. Right now, we have Seth Schackner on the line. He's a former Sony music executive who founded a media consulting company, or the media consulting company, Strat America. Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's really nice to be here. I mean, it's sad day for sure, but it's nice to be here.
Yeah, it really is a sad day. I think us that grew up listening to his music, he's just been so much part of our lives and with the reality show. But we really have to go back to the beginning. I mean, Black Sabbath and Ozzy, they were one of the first. You know, they set the stage for bands like Metallica. I actually saw Metallica opening for him back in 1986 at the Forum.
Yeah, for
Judas
sure.
Priest, Iron Maiden. There's so many more. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
No, for sure. I mean, look, this is an artist, and whether it's Ozzy individually or Sabbath, that we're really true influencers. I mean, if you think about metal, the genre, it's not always in the media the way, say, pop is, or Beyonce or Taylor Swift, but it has enduring and enormous appeal, particularly around the globe. And Sabbath was almost like, if you can, for those of us who grew up during punk or new wave or post-punk, has some resemblance to that, and that it was really when it initially came out, Sabbath was really a product of its time, basically, kind of set this stage, rebellious stuff, if you will. People can hear the power of it. And yeah, for sure. Priest, Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, obviously Metallica. There's so many others. Um, I see a little bit of punk rock in it as well. And it was recently, a tribute show that was done in the UK, and so many came out, Guns N' Roses and Chili Peppers, Tool, Aerosmith. You can see evidence of how real he was as an influencer. But Sabbath itself was also, huge to metal fans. So yeah, for sure, these guys were total influencers, and Ozzy's at the centerpiece of it, even with his persona being a little bit hapless and kind of funny, if you will.
Yeah, he really is. I was actually just rewatching an old interview from 1982 where, I heard CBS News reporting that he was criticized for biting the head off a bat, but somebody, he said, had thrown the bat up on stage and he didn't know it was a real bat. And he was actually horrified when that happened. And we got to see with the reality show this, kind of dad side of him, the
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness walking around in dog poop, as he said.
Yeah, and then there have been some hilarious interviews of him saying just completely inappropriate or whatever things that are very real, on air. And I think that speaks to him. He kind of a hapless guy, but to some he's got not only a relatable voice, but a persona as well. And I think the stuff that he did with reality shows really truly expanded his audience. You don't see a lot of metal artists or artists doing that generally. So the guy was enormously influential. I not only travel the world, but I've worked in markets like Latin America for Sony and other places. And, one of the things you see with musical genres is how important and how they resonate with certain audiences around the globe. I've got, friends in Eastern Europe, friends in Russia, and they don't ever talk to me about out pop, but they still hear Metallica. They hear those booming, beats and guitars. And so, this is kind of the king of it all, basically. So he was definitely important. And, the other thing I'd add was that the show that was done in the UK, the farewell show, there's a lot of farewell shows. I think the Who have been doing
Right?
farewell shows for a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah. Every
This was
show's
the
a
real
fair.
thing, right?
Ah, it was the real thing. It was the real
Yeah,
thing.
sad stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, he was 76. I didn't realize he was 76. For some reason, I thought he was maybe 10 years younger. But, he kept going. He kept going, that's for sure. And he had talent, too, with his songwriting. When you really look back on it now, when it first came out, it was like, oh, what is this stuff? But it lasts. It continues to play well.
yeah, for sure. I think you don't always, when new stuff comes out, if you think about when grunge came out or when the initial, 1976 Summer with Punk came out, the mass audience doesn't always hear it. It doesn't sound the same way it's supposed to, and it can wreck your ear a little bit, but he was enormously influential. There's no question about it, and that's why the music and the catalog and his persona still live on while we're talking about him today. And there's a lot of great metal bands, Metallica, For sure, Priest. There's just so many. I always look at Iron Maiden and even see some of the businesses these folks have. It's not, I don't even want to talk about it now, but things like merchandise, and
Right.
you travel in the world and you see people wearing Motley Crue shirts, and they were born well after the band broke up, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's got a place in this world, and it's impressive, and it still touches back on the original stuff that he and his bandmates created.
All right. Thank you so much. That is Seth Shackner, former Sony Music executive and founding of Strat Americas. We'll be right back.